Well, great day to all of you authors and to you aspiring authors, to you individuals that have that almost sickness inside of you that you've got to get it out. You've got to get the words out. You've got to get the concepts, the ideas, and the thoughts out because they've become a running narrative in your mind. Hey, well, this is Dr. John L. Mack, and I'm here once again with Monday Morning Mastery, a time when we, as authors and aspiring authors and thought leaders, are able to come together and I share information for your elevation, information that can assist in you getting more compensation. And that's what it's all about. You know, initially when I started my company, GPS, it was get published successfully. All about getting published, getting that book out, because I realized that that was such a vital need. And I'm going to digress before I get into today's subject and talk about the Gutenberg Bible. Not the Gutenberg Bible itself, but just at the state of publication, the state of printing, the state of making books was so primitive at the time that only a handful would be able to actually scribe and write a book. Many times, initially, it was a handwritten, laborious process. The Gutenberg Bible changed all of that because now they had movable printing elements that allowed them to be able to press out a page at a time. Still a laborious task, but it was now able to be duplicated and replicated across sections because of the tedious handwriting was slowing the process. So, guys, this morning I want to talk to you about what that difference has made in terms of where we are today with publications and being able to POD, print on demand. You know, that was unheard of, even 50 years ago. So now we're looking at this process where anybody can write a book. Today's technology, to be honest with you, I can get off this broadcast this morning, and in 2 hours, I can write a best-selling book because the technology allows me to speak it. It transcribes my speech into text, and I can then polish that text out, make sure that I get rid of the ands and the uhs and the you knows and the colloquialisms, but I make it where it's palatable and it expresses the thought that I have on the inside. And I've got a book. I can print that, and the methodology that we're using today it's almost unfair because we're saying we want to take your expertise, education, and experience and package it into a digital solution that people will go on to your Magic Author page and they'll look at it and see the solutions that you provide and say, okay, hey, I'm struggling with this. But because you know that the element, that the target market, that the audience that you are coveting, that you are creating and cultivating, you know that market has these specific concerns, and those concerns often are situations, and those situations need solutions. And if you can provide solutions to those situations and do it in a digital format, in other words, that you can deliver it via the internet, that you can deliver it over the cloud and the different technological mediums that are available, then you're able to monetize that. And when you monetize it, you can change the trajectory of your life. You can position yourself so that you have what we call the 5-6-7 lifestyle. Now, 5-6-7 is simple. That means 5 figures a month. Every month that you have a consistent inflow of cash of 5 figures. And at the end of the month, at the end of the year, even if that 5 figures is just only 10,000, that will position you where you will have earned $120,000 for the year. That's a 6-figure lifestyle. So 5 figures a month, 6 figures a year, and it positions you for a 7-figure future because now you can scale that. You can say, what did I do to reach the point where I was able to get the 6 figures? And now let me leverage that. Let me scale it so that I can reach even more. And ultimately, if you're producing brand building books that can be repurposed and re-contented to be able to not only be a print book, but an ebook, a flip book, a workbook, a audio book, all of these that are available to your target market that has the pain, that has the problem, and that's looking for the solution that you provide, because that's your ideal market. As you drill down and niche down and you say, this is what I am looking for, this is the client I'm looking for. When you're able to do that, that positions you now as an expert in that arena, because you're coming in and saying, this is a problem, this is a situation, this is a solution. So you're providing solutions over situations, and that is positioning you to be able to get better monetization. And that's what it's all. I mean, let's be honest. You want to share your information, but you also want to get some compensation. Okay, so the PB4X formula was designed for thought leaders like yourself, entrepreneurs, aspiring authors, and emerging entrepreneurs that wanted to take all of that knowledge base product that they have, that digital information product, and you want to make it available to a larger audience, a larger group of people that can now consume it. And when they consume it, they have to actually purchase it, and it's all good. So I say all that to say that this morning I want to talk about something called the author identity. You see, back in the when I was talking about the Gutenberg Bible, only a handful, the priest, the church, only the elite had access to books, and so the proletariat, or the rest of us peons, had to accept the word of those that had the access. And oftentimes that word was manipulated. That word was skewed so that it benefited those that had access. That's a whole nother story right there. But we're now at a point where, as they improve that technology, and as the printing became easier and better and more efficient and more effective, fast forward to today, where they at one point large presses across the globe were just spitting out books, and then these are corporate publishing titans would determine who could write a book. And so you would send a letter in, and that query letter would say, hey, I've got a great idea for a business book, for a self-help book, for a novel. And they would say, no, yes. And the rejection letters were like 10 times or 100 times more than the acceptance letters. So it was a small, narrow niche of people that was able to even get into the marketplace where they could present their ideas and their thoughts. You see, when you write a book, your thoughts, your ideas, your concepts live well past you. So you can create a legacy lineage by creating a digital information product that's a brand building book. And see, once you've got that brand building book built and ready to be distributed, now you're in position to begin accessing the 7 major avenues of revenue that we talk about, GPS talks about, that allows you, that assists you to be able to have multiple streams of income off of that singular product, because we leverage it. So now your book becomes a coaching manual. It becomes a consulting, because since you are the quote unquote expert, or the best in the business, you're at least a subject matter expert. So now you want to position yourself so that you can stand out and be in front of that marketplace. So they not only get your book, but they book you for consulting, coaching. They book you for classes, courses, curriculum. They book you for challenges, or for conference, corporate, or convention speaking. These are the types of things that's available. Now you can pursue those areas without the book, but it just makes it that much more difficult. So if you're given a tool that's relatively easy to develop, and you are able to take that tool and give yourself better credibility, better visibility, that equates to better profitability. Guys, I want to just now segue in and talk about the author development, or the author identity. The author identity is so important. See, before you can go to the next level, what I've learned is this: almost 80 to 90% of the production the publishing of the book is not in the actual physical book itself, but it's in the author identity. There's so many aspiring authors that have completed manuscripts that just need a little tweaking, and they can be bestsellers. They just need just a distribution. They just need to take the next logical next step and move forward. But because they haven't settled that author identity, they're still stuck. They're on pause. It's like they're at a red light and they can't move forward, and it won't turn green until something happens. And what needs to happen as an author is that you get that identity, that you say, I do have something of value to say. I am competent. I am good enough. I am worthy. What I have to say is important. It's of value. And when you bring value to the marketplace, then the marketplace wants to consume that value, and they want to get more and more of it. So as an author, you have to come to the conclusion as an author, you have to say, I am an author. When you come to that conclusion, when you are making that I am statement in reference to what you're seeking to accomplish, then you're able to manifest that. Heavy stuff once again, but I want you to understand the value of that ID, that identity. When you have a clarity on the ID, who you are, who that are you an author? Do you have something to say? Are you ready to say it? Are you able to say it? Are you competent to say it? Do you have the expertise, the experience, or the education to say it? If you do, then you need to be able to say it. But sadly, most people are unable to make the I am statement because inside they feel like they're imposter. Inside there's an ID crisis, identity crisis going on. And that crisis says this, it's an inner dialogue, but there's also an inner doubt. And that inner doubter is saying, hey guys, your identity and what you're ascribing to over here, you're as an author, that is not congruent with the image that you've already created over these many years. What's the identity that you've created over the many years? Well, let's explore that and then talk about the author identity. When we're born, our parents, our parental units, are those that have that are taking care of us and caring for us. They begin to pour into us, and then they allow other people to pour into us. And we're a sponge, and we're picking up all of that, and that's shaping our values, our core values. That's shaping who we are and what we want to do and what we are pleased with or what we oppose in life. And so we find ourselves at a crossroads when we say, I'm going to change my identity. I'm going to take on a new persona, a new character. I'm going to take on a new personality and a new identity. And that new identity is going to be possibly diametrically opposed to this current one. Because in this new identity, I am enough. My competency is not in question. As a matter of fact, I'm a subject matter expert that brings solutions to situations that will bless and benefit people. So as a result, I'm stepping into the arena that will allow me to do just that. Hey, as an author, we're coming in, especially as an aspiring author. We're brand new to the author arena. So we come in, we have an inspired destiny. That's part of our ID. This is that inspired destiny. I'm going to write a book, and just like Kevin Costner said, if I build it, they'll come. And if no one comes, you scratch your head and you blame yourself, and the imposter syndrome becomes even more realistic to you, and you say, I can't, I'm not good enough. And you fall back into that cycle, that inner dialogue of inner doubt. But your ideal day, that part of the ID, that ideal day, if you envision that ideal day, what does it look like? You wake up and you are raring to go. You get your coffee, you get your water, or whatever liquid that's going to get you spurred, and you start your day. And as you start that day, that ideal day begins with you meditating and pontificating and just getting contact and connection with the divine, so that all day that you'll have witty ideas, that you'll have incredible words, and that you'll be able to craft things in such a way and collate and curate things in such a way that it advances your vision, and it also helps you to, it's in that author development, then you, not only the vision, but the inner vision of you being more than competent, that you being more than worthy, you being more than good enough. So another aspect of that ID is an intense desire. The ID, intense desire, an intense desire to you aspire to go higher. You have a desire to go in and to get all that you deserve, all that you have been working on and focused on and believing for. Because ultimately, we found, science has proven, that what you focus on expands and becomes your reality. So if you're focusing on not losing, if you're focusing on what you don't want, inadvertently that becomes what you get, because your focus has drawn that to you. So as an aspiring author, your focus must be becoming an author and writing a book. It says is identifying to yourself that you are an author, that you have to identify to your own self that you are an author. We go through this whole process and we're saying, okay, we're saying it. And the problem with affirmations, and what I like about Noah St. John's work, affirmations, the problem with affirmations is that you affirm what you are not yet and what you don't believe you are. And that ID kicks in, that inner dialogue kicks in, and that inner dialogue says, no, you're not. And you're sitting up there and you're trying to convince yourself. So you're just you're gonna trick yourself. You're gonna hypnotize yourself into accepting the reality that you know on the inside is not. And so you say, okay, I am rich, I am rich, I am rich, and you broke as a joke. You say, I am slim and trim, and you look and you just keep breaking the scale. So the key is the affirmation is sometimes you're speaking a lie, and you're trying to convince yourself that the lie is reality, so that it becomes that reality. NLP, a lot of thought goes into that. But Noah had a moment of brilliance and said, you know what? If we affirm our position instead of affirm it, then the affirming is a question instead of a statement. And the question is, why am I? Why am I rich? Why am I powerful? Why am I a best-selling author? And then the reticular activating system in the brain and other the amygdala and all these different parts of the brain go into effect. And when you ask that question, it provides an answer, and that answer is often so far off the clock. We're like, oh my goodness, I didn't even think about that. But the end. So when you say, why is the sky blue? Then your grade school or junior high math, science comes in and says, well, the curvature of the Earth and the gases that are escaping and the refracting of those gases from the reflection of the sun on the moon, it creates a azure or a blue look. You say, well, okay, now that I have the answer, I feel a whole lot better. So when we get the answer, then we're able to advance. So when we ask ourselves, why am I such why am I a number one best-selling author in XYZ? Well, the mind says, well, because you wrote the book and you're listening to Dr. Mack, so you got to be smart as far as that's concerned. So the bottom line is that when we affirm it, we have to form it in our minds, and then we give ourselves permission to actually accomplish it. So that's very important. So it's not writing the book that's important, is who and what you become as a result of writing it. Who do you become? You become an author. An author is a servant. An author has information that he wants to share with you, and he puts it in the form, in a printed word form. And when you consume it, you're consuming a portion of his soul, a slice of his soul, and you get an understanding of what's going on in his brain and his mind. So if you are an aspiring author and you aspire to write a great book, and you say, okay, this is my target audience. I'm going to be, this book is to 40 to 70-year-old men that are in an urban area making 50 to 100,000 a year. And if that's your target market, and then what's their pain point? Their pain point is that they are now at a point where there's been more accountability called upon for them to engage in, and they still want to have a little fun and run. And so, how to be able to justify having fun as you go older, whatever the methodology or the information you want to share. But the bottom line is that you collate that information in such a way that you can compress time frames. What I mean by that is, if it would normally take a year, 2-3 years to accomplish a specific goal, because you're able to get a cheat sheet, a Cliff Notes version of the instructions, and you're able to quickly create a product that answers the question that people may have, or that solves the issue that's facing people, and it does it in a systematic manner that you can say, oh, this is like right now. I'm reading a book. And this is I recommend everybody take a order this. It's by Alan Dibb. It's called the One Page Marketing Plan. Get new customers, make more money, and stand out from the crowd. Okay, leaders are readers. I try to read at least one new book a month. Now, I deal with helping authors to publish their books, so I'm reading those manuscripts. So when you really think about it, I'm reading 5 to 10 books per month. But this is a book that when I saw it advertised, I saw it sponsored, the way that we're going to be advertising and sponsoring your brand building books. But when I saw this advertised, I was like, this book is something that I need to know. And then when I looked at the way that the copy on their landing page, their one page was done, it was so compelling. I said, well, this guy seems to have the knowledge. He seems to be credible. He seems to be viable. He has testimonials of people that have used his this methodology and are just giving him glowing praises. Let me take a look at it. Now that I'm reading it, I can't put it down. I'm savoring it, and I'm saying, oh, this is the information I was waiting for. Well, guess what, guys? That's you. You have information. You have expertise. You have experience in education. And all of these skill sets, and your mindset has to become one that says, I want to take this information to the nation and to the world to help them to be able to laser focus and collapse time frames. And instead of taking 5 or 6 years, I want to be able to show them how I was able to do it in little to no time. I'm working with an author out of Atlanta. I'll be visiting with him on next month. And he had a pretty difficult past. Pretty horrible past. He was molested. He was homeless at some point. He was crack addicted. He was an alcoholic. 5 failed marriages. And he looked at all of that. And by any stretch of the imagination, that is a recipe for disaster. That's a statistic that's going to be failure written all over prison, going to jail, hell, and beyond. But instead, he changed his mindset, refocused himself, reinvented himself. And he took $97 and went to the street corner in Atlanta, Georgia, and said, I'm not going home until I sell all of these religiously themed t-shirts. Sold them all, went back the next day, and with the profits, he increased it. His order, and now he had twice as many t-shirts to sell, and he had the same mission, the same mantra. I'm going to do the same thing. And over the course of a year or two, that methodology, that mindset, that focus became so intense that he was forced to go into to open up a physical spot that was like 200 or 300 square feet. Today, he's in a 10,000 square foot warehouse shipping products all over the world, and he's saying, hey, how I use my setback as a setup for the come up. how to eliminate excuses and activate success. And this is he had written a previous book that we helped him with called Economic Evangelism. So this is just a second set to that. I say that to say that we've worked with Dr. Mark P. Hagins over the last 6 months, and during that time, we've been able to help him to really focus in on his author identity, that he is an author, that he does have something to share with the world. And as we help him to package that message and to actually brand himself, to polish his brand. So we want to make sure that when you go to his page, everything screams, I am a professional. I am an author. Not that I want to be, but I am. And that only comes when you get a mindset that says it's not that the process of writing this book is what made me an author. You know, wanting to write it just made me a wannabe. But the fact that I actually wrote it, that I actually sat down with a coach and we created it using modern technology. Right? Gone are the days of hunching over a keyboard all day long, you know, for days and months and getting writer's block and just getting frozen and stuff. If you have a methodology that you want to share, and it can be outlined, and that outline can then be recorded using TED Talk type presentation. So whatever is in the outline, each component, each line in that is a chapter in the book. And all you're having to do is go in and record it yourself, giving this presentation and going straight down that outline. That's your book. That's the basic content. Then we take that content, polish it up, get rid of the uhs and the ands and the you knows and the thous and yada yada yada. And then we send it to an editor to really craft and create and expand and contract so that now you've got a great manuscript. We take that manuscript and we format it. We create a compelling cover, and then we distribute it across the spectrum. And then we want to take it a step further. We want to take that published book and use the PB4X formula, which is a published book plus a polished brand. And so within this 90-day time period that we're going to work with you as an aspiring author, we want to talk to you about polishing that brand, getting your social media, your all of your internet criteria, everything. When they go online and look you up, they're going to find you as the author. And so during that 90-day time period, we want to work on your mindset. We want to work on your inner dialogue and that ID, so that that as an author, you develop into the author that's required for you to be able to monetize your message and begin living the 5, 6, 7 lifestyle. Okay, last question. I told you it was going to be a test. What is the 5, 6, 7 lifestyle? Well, I'm glad you asked. I told you earlier, so I'm going to reiterate it because repetition is the mother of skill. So the 5, 6, 7 lifestyle that we're all trying to reach is 5 figures a month. And 5 figures a month can be anywhere from $10,000 to $99,999 every month. And people are doing that. People are making 5 figures a week, 5 figures a day. But we want to start off with the 5, 6, 7 lifestyle to mean 5 figures a month, because that's the initial litmus test where people are seeking. That's the goal. That's the point. That's the target. My wife always says that Brian Tracy famously said that you can't hit a target that you can't see. Now, you might accidentally shoot an arrow and it just goes into a target, but if you want to hit that bullseye time after time after time, then you have to see the target. And that's what we're talking about here. Guys, I cannot believe we have been together for the last half hour, and I have just been delivering information for your transformation, because we've been talking about the ID, the inner dialogue, that intense desire, that inspired destiny, that inner doubt, and that income development, so that as you become who you are aspiring to be, that author of note, as you become that person, as you become that writer, as you become that author, that what happens is you're able to elevate to the level of your expertise, and as a subject matter expert, that you'll be able to share that with an expanding group of people and bless them as well. Hey, this is Dr. Johnny L. Mack, and I will be back. Thank you for viewing, and have an awesome